Hey there, Year 10 health students. So this is it. This is our final couple of lessons. Unfortunately, we're not back in person, and so we have to conclude this online. Now, I am going to create the two lessons here as both revision lessons. We've got two lessons left before your exam takes place, and so I'm just intending that the exam will take place. It's written, it's ready to go, it's printed, so hopefully everyone's back at school and we're able to do it. Otherwise, we can make arrangements about completing it online or whatever might take place if there's any different announcements made by the government. Now, at this time, what I'm looking at is ensuring that you have a really good understanding of both Term 1 and Term two's content. This is going to be the first time where you're having to piece it all together. We're going all the way back to Term 1, where we talked about measuring health status, and then we talked about the dimensions of health and well-being, and then we're looking at the factors, socio-cultural factors, etc., that influence YLL and YLD and morbidity and mortality and what each of those things means, and then we're linking that with youth health issues and promotion of youth health issues, things like nutrition, illicit drug use, sexual health, etc. So we need to piece the whole thing together in a series of questions. Now, the questions that you're going to get, there are some multiple choice questions, and then there are some short answer questions as well. And as usual, there is some extra line space on the back page for if you want to write any more. However, if this is going to be done online, then you'll just be typing, and therefore those pages won't matter. So I just want to show you a couple of things. I've placed into both Mr. Tyler and my class under Year 10 Health Term 2 a Week 8 folder. So in this Week 8 folder, you'll find two documents. You'll find keynotes for the exam and the revision questions for the exam. So let's just have a look at the keynotes at the moment. So I'll just make that a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so here are some specific things that you really should look at prior to the health exam. Now, I think that before going into practice questions, it's probably worth you spending a little bit of time just rereading over your notes, ensuring you got all your notes in order. You might want to go, oh, I'm not sure about that topic, and go and revise that topic a little bit before jumping straight into the practice questions. So, the dimensions of health and well-being. You need to know the definitions of each of the five, what influences each of the five, and how they link together. You need to know terminology such as life expectancy, YLL, years of life lost. And when we say etc., we're talking about YLD, we're talking about mortality, morbidity, we're talking about trends, all of that stuff from the first PowerPoint that was about measuring health status of both individuals and countries and society. We need to understand the terminologies because Mr. Tyler and I are bringing them back out in the questions, and we're asking you to put them into your answers as well. We need to know the factors that affect each of the things like life expectancy, YLL, why do some countries or some influences have higher YLL than others, and we did that suburbs and looking at different life expectancy for different suburbs. Reading graphs. There are some graph questions and you need to be able to read the graphs. So it is critical that you understand that lenses work that we were doing. And then we move into nutritions and nutrients, the names of the different food types, things like water, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, fiber, calcium. What do each of these things do? We mentioned them in class. You've got some notes on them. And where did we get some of these examples of these food groups from? We looked at that the balancing act between food and exercise, and we looked at how we measure energy input in both kilojoules and calories, and that's also to do with how we measure energy output with our exercise and our movement. Micronutrients and macronutrients. This wasn't explained in a huge amount of detail, but it's worth just quickly looking up prior to the exam. And what are the factors affecting the food that we eat? So cost or location or culture. You need to be able to go through that and talk about it. Obesity and other health conditions that are both linked to food and exercise and ones that are not. We need to look at the difference between high income and low income countries. We need to look at sexual health. My apologies that it's not on the list. I will add that in there now. And you need to look at some different STIs and some of the signs and symptoms, and understanding that. So I'll re-upload this document and your version will have that in there. And finally, factors that can affect health in terms of water, sanitation, education, etc. Now, the other document that I have placed in there is a set of revision questions. Now, I don't think that you should go straight to these revision questions if you haven't gone and done some rereading of your notes, okay? But these revision questions are pretty straightforward and they take you through a whole bunch of things. Not every part of it in terms of the actual SAC. There is more that you are required to revise, and so look at that what you need to know sheet or your study guide that I just showed you. So creating a little bit of a mind map is going to be helpful, outlining some dimensions of development, how we develop. Yeah, so going through each of these questions is really important in terms of understanding what you're going to need to know for the upcoming exam. So, if I was a student in Year 10 Health and I've got 2 lessons left, I would be looking at it like this. Firstly, I would be taking the majority of Lesson 1 to go through that checklist and start getting a red, green, and yellow sort of coding like a traffic lights. So red is stuff that I really don't know. I need to go back and look up. That yellow is, yes, I think I'm okay. I might want to just reread over it one more time. And that green is, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, ask me any question about this topic. Once you've done your own self-audit of that list, you can go back and reread your notes. Watch YouTube. Go back and have a look at the PowerPoints that we've put up onto Compass that are all there for you. You need to make sure that you're feeling comfortable and confident on all those topics. Then move into those practice questions, because the easier that you find writing those practice questions closed book, the better off you'll be on the exam. Good luck.